Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Welcome to another exciting edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. My name is Uluyemi Adeosun, and our topic for today is how to revolutionize HR reporting, building interactive dashboards for data-driven making. And it's going to be a practical approach using MX Excel. Meanwhile, I am not going to be the facilitator. Our facilitator tonight, this evening, is Tochukwu Ume, and I'm excited because he's one of the people who have come back again and again, and each time deliver maximum value. I would like to, all the same, notwithstanding, read out very briefly the profile of Tochukwu Ume, our facilitator for tonight. Is an associate chartered Institute of Personnel Management. He's also an associate of the Institute of Training and Development. He's licensed. He has the HRPL license, and he also has the GNIM license. He's a results-driven human resource professional with about over 8 years progressive experience that includes recruitment, onboarding, performance management, employee development, and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, it combines people-centric HR practices with data-driven insights to deliver measurable impact. He currently is serving as the delegation learning and development responsible at the International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC. Throughout his career in international NGOs and also local NGO, has provided HR leadership that bridges strategy with execution. He has also implemented performance framework, optimizing core HR processes to support organizational effectiveness. He's very proficient in HR analytics, and Tochukwu leverages tools such as human resource information systems, Excel dashboards, and key HR metrics to drive evidence-based decision-making. His love for analytics fuels his commitment to transforming workforce data into actionable intelligence that shapes HR strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, he's a multilingual communicator, prolific and proficient in English, Hausa, and Igbo, and he excels in cross-cultural environments. He holds a master's in business administration and multiple certifications professionally, which I reeled out earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, whether driving performance through people analytics or leading HR transformation initiatives, Tochukwu brings a blend of strategic foresight, analytical rigor, and cultural intelligence to every engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, the next voice you will hear is Tochukwu. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for hanging out with us tonight. It's always a wonderful time with you every time I have the opportunity to be here. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's a privilege. Thank you, my doctor, for the opportunity to anchor the discussion today around HR reporting, especially how we can use the most common tool that we have, which is the Microsoft Excel, to be able to inform our reporting in HR, especially. How, one of the things that I've come to learn these days that most people believe that, okay, we just need to do HR, we don't need to know a thing about calculation. Well, the boss has moved already, and that is one of the reasons why we have to continually have these conversations, reskilling and upskilling ourselves to stay in tune with what happens in our current world and continually be able to make a claim on that strategic leadership role of leading organizations. So that is where we are looking at Microsoft Excel. Point of note, there are more than one tool that you can use to drive insights, depending on your level of complexity or your level of knowledge, and also the funding available for your organization. However, Microsoft Excel is one of the most affordable, most popular, and easiest amongst most of the tools you will find everywhere. So that is why we want to use the basic that we believe almost every organization can afford, almost every human resource manager can use, and it is also sufficient to give you the basic insights you need with little stress in terms of tweaking data here and there. So thank you very much for having me tonight. I would not take much of your time. So let's put some basic discussions, or should I say basic ground rules. We want to believe that every one of us who is here today already knows the importance of HR reporting, especially using dashboards to inform decision making. So I'm not going to dive into the why, but I'm going to go mostly into the how. Okay, so it's going to be more practical than theoretical. So the importance, the relevance, and all of those things, I believe we already have those knowledge, and that is why we are here. So it's going to be a bit more practical, hands-on, and that is what we'll be doing with an hypothetical organization. Of course, all of us in HR know the sensitivity of data in HR. So I will not be using any real data in this case. So I will tell you a little bit more about that in the next couple of slides. So the company that we'll be using today will be a fictitious company, which is a bottled water company here in Nigeria. And the name of the company is Aqua Pure Nigeria Limited. It is fictitious, please. In case there is any company anywhere in the world with that name, please, disclaimer, this is not about you. This is just a conjecture of something we believe will make sense. So this is a hypothetical name. Please, disclaimer in case there is any company that bears a name like that or similar to that. Okay, now in this company, as at the record we have in 2024, we have about 180 staff members as at the beginning of the year in 2024. Mind you, this data we are looking at is the data of last year, 2024. So we want to analyze to get some information about trends and be able to answer some questions. And in this company, we have some departments, which is production department, logistics department, sales department, admin, HR, and quality control. In ideal situation, there could be more, but this is just for the purposes of demonstration. So we also hypothesize that this company, which is a fictitious company, has annual revenue as at last year of 72,702,918 naira and 6 kobo. So we believe this is what they were able to generate as revenue. Furthermore, this company has declared a profit as at last year of about 18.6 million. And total overhead cost of this company stood exactly at 12 million. Overall training costs stood at about 7.4 million. And total annual hiring costs stood at about 1.4 million. And the annual salary cost stood at about 35 million naira. So this is the brief overview we have about this company. Of course, we've been able to generate some data, to give us an idea of what's happening in the company. So one thing, I mean, some HR, when you begin to see these numbers, we are HR, we don't worry about these profits. All ours is to focus on, hiring and firing and managing people. Yes, that may be true. However, whatever we are doing as HR, the bottom line is profits, especially for profit-oriented organizations. So if we are not speaking the language of the CEO, he does not see the value you are bringing. So you should be able to itemize how your impact or your programs or interventions lead directly or indirectly to profits or revenue, as the case may be, or perhaps cost reduction. Because for every business, two things are key: either to minimize cost or to maximize profit. So you must be able to tie your initiatives, your programs to these two elements as much as possible to be able to make sense. So don't be afraid when we talk about figures. And in case your HR so far is not in any way linked with finance team, then maybe you need to find a way to link it, because you need to have some data to see, are we, when we do this, profit reducing, is cost reducing, sorry, profit increasing or cost reducing by doing one program or the other, initiating one intervention or not. So you should be able to have all of this. So I said that to not scare you when you see us talking about profit, cost, and all of those things. We'll be doing a whole lot more about them tonight. And just for you to know that at the end, you should be able to tie your interventions to profit maximization or cost minimization. Okay, as a disclaimer, the data I'm going to be using was generated with ChatGPT. So please pardon our final output if there are some inconsistencies in the analysis at the end of the day, because of course the data may not be very accurate when you want to make sense of the data at the end of the day. But the whole purpose is demonstration of how you could use your own real data to generate insight. So pay more attention on the how, not the final outcome. Just a disclaimer in case. Okay, and some of the insights we will try to generate, or perhaps what management is interested to know, for example, would be, what is our workforce overview? Okay, so they want to know what is the composition of our workforce. Who are they? Where are they from? You know, a whole lot of data that we can generate from that. But of course, because of time and space, we might not go in depth into every aspect of workforce overview, but at least we can take one or two of them that will make sense just for us to see how it is done. And then we want to also answer the question of how efficient is our recruitment process, right? We also want to answer the question of why are people leaving the organization? And we also want to answer the question, which departments have high attrition? Why are people leaving, and where is the place where people are leaving more, you know, in terms of departments, so we know perhaps what is the reason why. Is it our pay? Is it a recruit? Is it our maybe the line manager? What could be the problem why people are leaving? And then who are our top and low performers? We want to know. And we are also interested to see if we are investing in the right training. Yes, we are doing training and development, but then are we investing in the right training? Are we paying competitively compared to market trends or the industry standard? Is our pay good enough to retain staff? Are employees engaged and motivated? And are we developing internal talents, not just hiring from outside, but how effective are we promoting and generating quality staff members within our ranks? So these are some of the questions we hope to answer tonight to show to management what we are doing or the impact of our intervention as HR. Now, this is just to show you that, first and foremost, you don't dive into data, or should I say, don't dive into data analysis without a problem to solve. You must have a problem to solve, first and foremost, clearly defined problem statement for you to know what data do I need and how do I analyze the data to give me the right information I need to answer that problem or answer that question or solve that problem that is needed. So in other words, when you are building your own dashboard, don't just jump into doing any nice to have things. It doesn't make sense where you are presenting your dashboard and all you put on your dashboard is workforce overview. Yes, we know the workforce overview. So how does it drive profits? How does it reduce costs? You cannot answer those questions. So you should be able to know what is the question that management is asking and what data do you need and how can you analyze that data to produce insights to be able to answer that question that management is asking. Now, with that mentioned, we'll now go practically into this data analysis. So permit me, I will just pull up and then share my screen again on the data that we have generated so far. Okay. Let me know if you can see the screen now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so this is the data that we have been able to generate as much as possible. So you will see from my data that we have, beginning from here, a column for employee ID, and then a column for names of employees we have. We have gender, age, marital status, state of origin, education level, department, their grade level, employment type, salary, and then market salary. That's what the market pays for those positions in our own organization. So we have overtime hours, absence days, their performance rating, and then the dates that they joined the organization. Also here we have if they are currently employed with the organization or not. Here also we have, for those who have left, the exit dates that they left and the reasons why they left. And then here we have the days it took us to hire, how many days it took us to hire each of those positions, and the cost we incurred for hiring each of those positions in Naira. The source of hiring these people, various sources, but these are some of the sources we've been able to capture. And here we have information about unplanned absences. We have information here about approved absence. Then here we have information about training hours, the cost of training, and training category. That's the name of the training that people have participated in. And also here we have the increase in revenue as a result of training that the staff participated in. That is the staff's contribution to revenue, how much has increased as a result of the training that the staff participated in. And then here also we have the compensation cost as a percentage of revenue. So this is like the percentage of the staff member's salary as relation to the staff member revenue generation. And then here we have revenue contribution per employee. And then here we have the engagement score. We have here wellness program participation. We have burnout risks. We have health and safety incidents. That is the possibility that this person has been exposed or had one or two incidents at some point during his employment career. Then here we have mandatory training completed. Some of them completed, some of them not. Here we have critical role, whether the role is a critical role or not, whether we've been able to identify a successor or not, whether this person has been promoted in the past 2 years, and lastly, whether this person is tagged as a high potential talent or not. Okay, so typically in an ideal situation, you may not have all these data in one Excel sheet. So this data may be in different formats, in different sources. You may have to find a way to pull this information together. Now, this also highlights the need for HR to be able to collaborate with other departments and synergize efforts. So you can be able to have some data that you can correlate with your own data and make a holistic meaning out of it, like your finance team, your admin team, and your health management team or HMO, which may be managed by HR or not. Be able to have some of these data, then interpolate this data together to be able to make a holistic sense out of it. So in ideal sense, you may not have all of this together, but then this is just a demonstration that you need to get these data wherever they are and put them together to be able to make sense. So again, typically when you bring data together, you need to do some data cleaning and analyze few things at the basic to be able to know what and what you need to focus on. So in our case, I took some time to look through the data, and try to make a sense out of the data and look at it, clean it up a little bit here and there, because so to save time. Sometimes data cleaning would take a whole lot of time depending on how fast you are and what you are cleaning. But suffice to say for now that our data has been significantly cleaned. So we believe we have something good enough to analyze for now. If we find any inconsistencies in between, we might probably come back and tweak the data here and there to adjust one or two. Okay, that having been said, let me now go ahead to begin the analysis. So to analyze this data conveniently, we are going to be using the Excel pivot table function. If you've not used it before, don't worry, it's not difficult. I'll be demonstrating from start to finish, so you'll be able to do it yourself. But if you've used it before, of course, maybe you are an advanced or intermediate user of Excel, so this for you will be a walkaway, but then please go with us at our pace so everybody can come along. So generally, pivot table is just that function in Excel that allows you to analyze very quickly a large outlay of data to make sense of them very fast and understand or perhaps drive insights. So in our case today, we are going to be using the pivot table. And to start, what we have so far is arranged in what we call range. So for me to be able to use my data well, to convert it to pivot table, it has to be in what we call the table form. So I need to create a table from this. And to do that, I'm going to be pressing Control T. So click anywhere within your data set, which for me, I've clicked anywhere. I've just put my cursor anywhere, and I press Control T on my keyboard. So I get a dialog box popping up to ask me if I want to create table. And yes, I want to create table. And then the next point I see here is if my table has headers. And these are the headers. This row 1 are the headers of my table. So yes, my table has headers. And if I tick no that it does not have headers, it will create headers for me. But in my case, my table has headers. And you can see here also that the Excel tries to understand the outlay of my data, trying to capture from cell A1 to cell AM181. So this is AM181. If you scroll to this end, you will see, for example, that the column here is AM, and the last cell here, the row is 181. So this is what the Excel tries to understand automatically, and it will be able to generate my table for me. So I'll do that again now, Control T, and I'll press OK. So now you see that the color has changed, and this shows me that now my data is captured in a tabular format. I can change this table format or the design or color if I choose. For example, here you can see different formats I can choose depending on what I like, and you are at liberty to do this. So please feel free to choose whichever one that makes sense to you. So for now, let's say this is the one we are going to use. So we have in each row, this, by the way, you see where we have 1, 2, 3 are called rows. And then where we have employee name, ID name, gender, these are called columns. So looking through the rows, you will see the details of one employee, starting by his name, his gender, his age, his marital status, his state of origin, his educational level, his department, and what have you, all the way down. All the information about that employee has been captured. So for each row captures the information of each employee, and they are diverse. So we are going to be analyzing this data in a bit. Now to do that, I'm going to be, let me rename this as my database. And the next thing now is to create the pivots. For us to create the pivots, click on any part of the table, you go and click on Insert. When you click on Insert menu, you will see the pop-up that comes up under Insert menu. There is a whole lot of information you can find there, but as of now, we are focused on pivot table. So if you don't even know what to do sometimes on pivot table, you know, the Excel has generated for you some recommended tables that will give you some level of insight on your pivot table or on your data set. So let me do this for a start. Click on recommended pivot tables. It generates some things randomly for you to look at some kind of tables. For example, here is showing me salary by marital status. So people who are divorced, the sum of their salary is this. People who are married, sum of their salary. So does this insight make sense to me? Maybe not. Of course, it's not part of the things I'm interested in. If you look at the second table here, also is showing me salary by educational level. If it is something I'm interested in, I will select it. If it is not, I will move ahead. So there is a whole lot of insights that the pivot table will generate automatically. For example, here we can also see overtime hours by by their age grade and all of those things. We can see their marital status, some of their age and overtime hours, and all of those insights that the computer will generate automatically. But then these are not what I'm interested in. So I'm going to cancel and come back again to insert and insert pivot table. So here I have the opportunity to choose where I want to put my pivot table. If I want to put it on existing worksheet, which means on this particular worksheet, that's where I'm going to be putting my pivot table. It does not make sense because it will be too clumsy. So I want to put it on, if I choose existing, but I want to put it on a new worksheet so that it will just create another worksheet tab for me here. So I'm going to select new worksheet and I will click OK. So here we have a new worksheet and I'm going to name here pivot tables. Now, what I'm going to be showing you will be just one way of doing it. There could be 1,001 ways to do anything and everything, especially with Microsoft Excel. If you know your way, you can do it anyhow. So it depends on what you know and how it is easy for you. The most important at the end of the day is achieve the result. So somebody who knows it differently might do it differently, but this is the way I do it. This is the way I love to do my own. Please, you must not follow my way. Find what works for you and do it your best, your own way. Now, in my case, these are you will see on the pivot table fields here, you have all the columns itemized for you here. All the columns are prepared here. So with these columns, I can begin to generate my own tables as I want. Now, some of the questions we had said we wanted to answer is the overview of our staff members. So maybe let us look at headcount by department, or maybe by gender, or by grade level, as the case may be. So first and foremost, we want to pull departments. Let us look at headcount by department. You click on department, drag it to maybe the column or the rows. So now I drag to the rows, see what's happening here. We have a summary of all the departments in this place. So the next thing I want to take is maybe employee ID, or if I take employee ID and I put it in values, it's going to count how many employee IDs were found in admin. So here you can see that we have 22 staff members in admin, 33 of them in HR, 29 of them in production, in logistics rather, 28 of them in production, and 29 in quality control, and 39 in sales. Now remember, our organization is actually a bottled water producing company. From what we have so far, you could already see something that is already glaring, that we are into production, but look at the number of people who are into in the production department, just 26, but then we have 33 HR staff members. What does that tell us? We probably are not staffing in the right places. Okay, so remember I told you this was generated by ChatGPT. There could be inconsistencies. In this situation, it might not be so, but just let's assume this is a real situation. You realize that, oh, wow, it seems some people in HR just employ their friends to sit around doing practically nothing. We can see sales. We have Yeah, a big number of people in sales, but then in production, we don't have enough people in production. Logistics, yes, good number of people in logistics, but then admin and HR, why do we need so much people like that in admin and HR? We should instead focus more on quality control, production, logistics, sales. That is where the money is generated. So already we are seeing one key insight that could drive our recommendation to management if we have to. Right? Now, if we want to have another insight, now depending on what you know, for some persons, they may have to come back to this database, then click again on insert, then insert pivot table and all of that. It works. For some other persons, they have to put, for each analysis, they create a new sheet for it to keep it organized and not get confused. It's also excellent, to do it that way. However, for me, I like to put everything in one place. So for me, I normally would prefer to just have my analysis all in one page or in one sheet. So what I would do is just copy this one and paste it a couple of steps down here, and then I'll modify the data. So I'll just remove what was there before. And you see now I have the possibility to create a new pivot table in the same Excel tab. So in my case now, I want to look again at maybe employee status. Let's look at employee status, whether they are permanent, how many permanent staff we have, how many contract staff we have, how many casual staff we have, and all of that. So in this place, you look for employee status. Where is it now? Yes, employee ID, department grade, employee type, employment type. And I'll put it here. So we have contracts and permanent staffs, and we can count how many staff members are there. So we see we have 60 contract staff and 180 permanent staff members. So this gives us another view of staff members that we have. So you can actually rename these rows. Let me rename this as this is employee status, and this is employee distribution by departments. So it's important sometimes to name it properly so that when you now begin to put everything together, you will not get confused. So pardon me if I have to go back and forth sometimes to rename to make sure that we are consistent in our naming pattern. Okay, so having done that, I think for workforce overview, let me leave it at that for want of time. So I'm creating another pivot table, just copy paste and then check this box and it is out. Then I can look at what else I want to look at. So let's look at recruitment analytics, particularly looking at the question they asked us about the efficiency of our recruitment process. So basically, one of the KPIs that could help us determine how efficient our recruitment process is would be the time to hire. So let us look at the time to hire. How long does it take us to hire on the average? Because when you sum it up, it's going to be quite a lot. So we're going to be taking average of the time it takes to hire per department. So we look at it averagely, but then by department. So first thing we do is we take departments. So we have all the departments, and then the time to hire, where is it now? Okay, yeah, time to hire by days. I'll put it here. Now, look at what we have here. You will see we have sum of time to hire. But if you look at the total days it takes us to hire in admin for the year to fill all admin roles was 538 days. For HR, 777 days and all of that. It doesn't give me so much insight. I want to see average days it takes to hire for each of these departments. So on these values where we have, there is a drop down by the right-hand side here if you look at it very closely. So I'm going to be clicking on that drop down and I will select value field settings. This will allow me to change what I am looking for. So in this case, I'm interested in the average and not the total. So I click the average and it is giving me so far the average days it takes to hire for each of these departments. So there's a whole lot of decimal points. I want to reduce that to, so you see here, under here, we have the number formats. So click on the number format and here, just reduce it to 0 decimal place and okay. So on the average, it takes us about 25 days generally overall, in all the departments overall, it takes us 25 days to hire on the average. But then you could see in admin and HR is about 24 days on the average to hire. In logistics, it's about 27 days. In production and quality control, 25 days. In sales, 26 days. So this tells us, okay, if we need to hire to fill this role, we need to plan at least for this number of days to before we can onboard any staff member or to hire any staff member. So this is the information we have. So we're going to be putting that also in our dashboard at the end of the day. So let's take this average time to hire. So this is our average time to hire. Okay, so now the next insights that I'll be looking at would be, I think, okay. The next insight is we are looking at departments, attrition by departments. We want to see which departments have the highest attrition. So we'll be, again, pulling departments to the row and we will pull attrition. Now, I want to see whether people are still employed with us or not. So we are looking at currently employed. So currently employed or not currently employed, or we can look at exits or those with exit dates. Okay, so those with exit dates, put them here. Yes. So this is the attrition, those with exit dates per department. So we see that the highest attrition we have so far is in quality control and sales. Of course, people in HR don't want to go anywhere. They have very little work to do. There are plenty of them doing little or nothing, so they're always there. But we know that, of course, people in production, quality control, and sales are probably overworked. And we can see already that there is signs showing that there is high attrition rate amongst this set of people in this department. So this calls for concern. So we see that, for example, a lot of people are leaving in this department. Now, again, is for us to know, this we are looking at the attrition by department. And then let us also look at the reasons why people are leaving. So attrition reasons. I'm going to remove this and this. So we put exit reason and we can just put it again on this part to count how many people leave for what reason. So we have people who left there are people who are still around. So you can see we have blank here. So this shows that these people are still around and we are going to filter them out a little bit later. So, but then we have people who left because of they lost their lives. They died while employed with us, 2 of them. We have about 4 people who left for health reasons. We have about 2 people who didn't give us a reason why they left. Of course, they didn't want to share. And then we have 8 persons who resigned. Maybe they didn't tell us any reasons why, but we believe that these people who resigned perhaps joined other organizations. Then we have about 5 people who who retired. And then about 6 people were terminated, of course, for violations of several kinds. So these persons were, employments were terminated. Then this place where we see blanks are people who have, of course, no record of reasons why they are not there or whatever. So we'll be filtering these details out. Just click the button here to see all the information and then uncheck the ones you are not interested in, and that goes. Okay, so now we have attrition reasons, and we see the biggest reason why people left was resignation. So in other words, our competitors are doing something better than us, and our people are leaving us to join our competitors. And we can also see of serious concern is also health issues. Many of our staff members are maybe workplace accidents, something happening that they fall sick and unable to resume their jobs anymore. So they have to leave their jobs for health-related reasons. So now it gives us insight that we need to do something about health, safety, and environment. Then also we see that there is a significant number of people who are retiring. Also, it shows us that perhaps people stay long in our organization, long enough till they retire. More so, could it be that we are hiring people who are about their retirement age, not giving us so much, and in a very short while they leave us? 5 in a year to retire is quite a number. So we need to look at that. Do we pump in more young bloods to control these trends and all of that? So these are some of the insights we are already seeing. And then in terms of termination is also a high number, because we see, of course, there are a lot of people who are violating our code of conduct and all of those things we need to pay attention to. Okay, so because of time, I will just go quite quickly to compensation-related insights. So taking this down again, let's have something about compensation. We are asking if we are paying our people well enough in comparison to the market standard. So let us look at compensation versus markets. I don't know what better to call it, but let's leave it at that. Okay, so for us to have these insights, we are going to be looking at the data of our compensation. Then let us see, maybe by departments or by grade level. I would rather look at it by grade level. By grade level, let us look at how much we pay people. Where is the compensation? Monthly salary, yes. Here and here, markets. Okay, so it is giving us the sum. Again, to make sense out of the data, some will not be the best. So I would rather take the average salary. So I'll take average salary. And here also I will take the average. And maybe also make this to be in currency. Okay. No decimal place. Okay, we have Kobo in Nigeria, so put it that way. And for this also. So number formats, currency, 2 decimal place, Naira, and there. Okay, so we can see just quickly our junior staffs. On the average, we pay 160,000 for junior staff members, but in the market, on the average, we see that the average market rate is about 180,000. And more so, our mid staff members will pay 158,000 on the average. And we can see here that the market average is at about 176,000. And then the senior staff members on the average will pay 546,000. And we see that we are doing better slightly in terms of market average. So we can see maybe most likely why some staff would most likely resign, because especially people in the junior and mid level, chances are very high that our competitors can snatch them away from us, especially when we don't have other benefits that will hold them down in the organization. So these are already some explanations or insights that we can see from the data we have. Then again, we wanted to understand if our employees are engaged and motivated. So for us to get that question, we will be looking at the data about um, staff engagement level. So let us look at engagement score. No, I'll put it in values and engagement score. Let's see, maybe, again, let me take staff level. Let's look at their levels. Where is it now? Employment type, no. Great, okay, yes. Okay, and this also, I want to take average. And the number should be 0 decimal place. Okay, fine. Okay, so on a count of 1 to 10, this is the engagement level of our staff members, especially by their grade levels. So we can see that junior staff members are engaged, but the senior staff members are mostly more engaged. They are more happy than the other levels. So any score above, from 7 above, seems to be okay. That means that these people will likely recommend their friends and family members to come work with our organization. So this is what we have, but the more happier people are the senior staff level staff members. Of course, when you look at the salaries, it also makes sense for you to see why they are most likely going to be the more engaged. For want of time, I'll just take one more and we'll roll up on that, which is the one we're asking, are we developing talents internally? So let us look at that question. This question is all about staff engagement level by grade. Okay, so let us also look at quickly. Just to be sure if I'm still audible, please confirm you can still hear me and see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank you. Very important, so that I'm not talking to myself all the while. I was in one training one time, I never knew network knocked me off and I kept talking for almost 10 minutes, no feedback, only for them to start calling me on phone before I realized I was no longer there. So pardon me. Yes, okay. Are we developing internal talents? So let us look at successor ready. So depending on the grade levels, and we'll see if we have successors who are ready for these grade levels. Successor ready, no. Okay. I want to take yes and no, and then for grade, and then success already, I put it here again. Okay. I guess this gives me what I want. So I'll change this table design into a different outlay. Okay. Okay. So we can see from here that we have about, when we say no, successor identified for some of these positions, we don't have any good successors for most of the, about 90, about 84, 86, 88 positions, we don't have successor already, but about 92 positions, we have developed successors. So we can see that, yeah, in terms of count, we have more successors than where we don't have. And when we look at positions where we have more of the successors who are ready, it is mostly in the junior position roles. And we can also see in the senior positions roles also some good numbers. So we are more interested in the senior position roles. The junior ones and the mid ones can easily be hired from anywhere, but the senior management roles, we see only 4 of them do not have successors identified. So this gives us, yeah, we are probably developing good talent from inside to fill senior or critical positions in terms of succession planning. Okay, so I think for the analysis, we'll stop for here for want of time. Then the next thing for us to do is to quickly build a dashboard, put all this information together. Now, what we've done now is analysis. When we are talking about dashboard now, we are talking about putting a graphic pictorial view to what we have done so that someone can just look at it and understand what's happening without necessarily us giving the person too much or having to explain too much. So now we're going to be building the graphical part of it, and that is the most easiest part. We create graphs from all of these tables that we've generated, and then we quickly put all these tables together and present it to management, maybe in one view, and show them this is what is happening in the organization, and say all the things you want to say, all that I've been able to explain so far. Now, having done that, the next thing I'll do now, when I click on any of these pivot tables and go to analyze, you will see here where you have, pivot charts. I don't know if you can see on my own table here, you can see pivot charts to this end. All I just need to do is click on the pivot charts, and I see the charts for me to choose whichever kind of chart I feel will show better what I'm trying to exemplify in this case. So be it a column, a line, a bar chart, as the case may be. So in this case, I would love to use a bar chart. So this bar chart here, I'll click on insert, and then it comes up. You can see we have some buttons and some things all around here, making the chart a bit small. So I'm going to be removing all these things around it. And on where we have total here, I'm going to be putting the title of our charts in that place. So when I click on this place, for me, I always would like to use the formula to make it very interactive. So I've been able to link it to the title that I have put in this place. So we have now the title of our charts. When I click on the charts, and we have the, when you click on the pivot chart analyze, you will see all the buttons. I want to just click on hide all buttons. So all those buttons will go away. And this total, which is our legend, I will just delete it. I don't necessarily need it. Now I have these numbers under here. It makes sense, but then it will be difficult for me to go and start measuring. Oh, this is 30. And then if this is 30, this is a little bit above 30. What is it? So to make it easy for me, I'll just remove these numbers and click on this plus here to insert data labels. Just a little bit outside end. Okay. So outside end here, I see the numbers already just showing for me in front of the bars. This makes it easy for me to see quite easily. And if I also would like, I want to remove these grid lines and use this one instead. So to create this proper distinct between these numbers. So now I have one information that is clear and concise that I can look at and say this employee distribution by department, this is the number of people we have for each department. Now, depending on what you also want to do and how you want to arrange it, you may want to arrange it in an order that will make it make more sense. So when you look at this, what do you call? I want to filter this by count of employee in descending order. So it will show the ones who are the highest or from the lowest to the highest. You can tweak it either way from the highest to the lowest. So it depends on how you want to put it to show what you want to show. So maybe I will show it from the highest to the lowest. In my case, whatever the case may be. So I will do here, highest to lowest, and Kalas, there you have it. So I have one chart ready. So what I will do now is to create the dashboard. So the difference between, I have three things now. I have the database where I have all the information in numbers put together. I have the pivot table where I did my analysis. Then the next thing I want to create now is my dashboard where I will do my visualization. So this is my dashboard, and so all of this stuff, when I create them, I'll just take them to the dashboard and put them somewhere. We'll come back to arrange them a little bit later to make sense of what we are doing. So I'll come back here and very quickly in the same format, I'll do this a little bit faster in the next 1-2 minutes. So I'll go right fast with all these ones. I guess you already understand what I was doing earlier. So I'll just follow that method and go right fast in the kinds of charts that I'll be inserting next. So for this, I want to take something like this, donut charts, and inserts. I'm most likely going to be doing more or less the same thing over and over again. So bear with me if I'm a little bit fast. Okay, so um, okay, so this is what we have, but because it will not show very well, so I'm going to be making it to be a bit bold. And color should be white. This also bold and white color, and I'll just copy this to my dashboard. Okay. Then time to hire, average time to hire. What is the best way to show this guy? Feel free to use any kind of chart that makes sense to you. Don't mind me. I'm using what I feel would be nice. Um, Nutrition by departments. Best to use this kind of charts. So you see us, we're gradually getting there. Attrition reasons. I'm just trying as much as possible to use something different. I'll just use a pie chart for this one. Pivot chart. Hide all of this. Okay, so or better still just use like a call up. Yeah. No, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Okay, okay, okay. Now, markets compensation rates. Mm, yes, so we want to compare this as against what the market offers. So, okay, now this is going to look clumsy. Nah. Okay, so this is going to look clumsy if I were to leave it with all the numbers. So it's best to just have the axis. Let us see. Okay, I think this is going to give me problems. Oh yeah. I think it might make more sense to leave this one this way. So it is more organized instead of having it on top of there. So pardon me, let me leave this one like this. We can take it the way it is and put it there. Okay, so what is left? So we're almost done. Engagement levels. I think I would use an area chart. Yes. Um, we have. Okay, this looks good, but it doesn't show the numbers very well. So maybe I will just change this chart type. I'll go with this. Okay, I think with this, we are more or less done. So last but not least, I'll insert this and how about I just make this a little bit simple, yes and no, so that we can just visualize it a bit easier. Simple yes and no would help. Okay. So successor readiness. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we've been able to bring all our visualizations that we've analyzed together, but then we need to make a whole sense from this. So let's put all of this together in one space. Remember the name of our organization, Aquapure Nigeria Limited, HR dashboard. Okay, so I'll use this and okay, so let's just as much as we can to arrange the data sets. Meanwhile, we've not done staff head count, overall head count. I think in terms of number, we could just see quickly. Okay, so let's do um, head counts real fast. Yeah, count of employees or head counts. Nice. So we're going to be inserting this. We make it male and female to make it easier. Okay.
But you could be talking small, small. Oh.
Okay, so okay, I was just actually making arrangements, nothing more. So the next thing I'm going to be putting there is what we call slicer. Now you can see we have all this data, but it is not really interactive. Every one of them is on its own. So now we need to tie this whole thing together to be able to make sense of all this data when we begin to slice and dice our data. So now that takes us to the interactivity of our data, which is the next thing I'll be introducing us to. I'm actually looking at the time because I don't want us to stay too long on the call. Otherwise, it becomes uninteresting. So permit me to quickly arrange these data sets how I think it will make sense. And as soon as I'm done these arrangements, then we will shoot with the interactivity of our data, of our dashboard. Okay, so this would make more sense here. Now, not all the charts must be of equal size, so don't work yourself up too much trying to make sure that you put all your data, all your charts to be equal in size. Not all of them. It depends on what you are trying to project. So focus more on results than on what do you call it now? On aesthetics. But though aesthetics is equally important, don't give it away. Okay, so I've been able to set up this so far. I think I like how it looks here. So lastly, I will pull this guy. Put it here. Hmm, you come down. Please remember that this, whatever you are creating is based on what is important to you and your employers. So don't just create anything for the sake of creating, but create what will make sense to you and will make meaning to your data reporting. So I've been able to put this together. Let's say these are what management is interested to see or the key questions that they are asking us, and we can be able to advise. Already I've interpreted most of this data when we were analyzing them initially. So now it's just the visualization aspect of it that I'm doing. So now we are going to be adding now the interactivity function, which is now what we call the slicer. Having put all of this together, now I'm going to go to these pivot tables to insert slicers. And when I come here on my pivot analyze, you see we have here insert slicer. So I'm going to insert a slicer, and then it's going to ask me the kinds of what I want to see in terms of slicers. So for my slicer, what I mean by slicer now will now be what will help me to dice my data better, how best I want to. So when you insert slicer with full name or employee ID, know that every staff member have a different employee ID. So it's not going to give me a categorized like a group of things that will make sense or meaning to me. So maybe I want to slice by departments. If I click on department, maybe I also want to slice by grade level. Maybe also I want to slice by other factors. Let me see if there are other things that will make sense. Okay, level of education perhaps, or maybe also employment type. Okay, so let me just take this for sake of demonstration. So this has given me 4 slicers. So what it means is for each of these 4 slicers, if I notice that for now, these slicers are linked to only one table. So if I click level of education, you know, in all our analysis we did not do it based on level of education. So this gives me additional functionality to drill down my data by levels of education. So when I click on this, notice that let me remove it. Just pay attention to this first table. You see here we have 22, 28, 29, 29, 33, and 39. So when I click on BSc, in other words, I want to see people in each department that have BSc. So I'm looking at in logistics, I have only 2 now that has BSc. In admin, 4 of them. In sales, we have 5. In production, we have 6. Quality control 6, and HR 6. Based on those that have BSc. How about HND? You see the numbers. What about MSc? But then notice that only one table is changing. Not all the tables are changing. So when we look at the dashboard here, notice that employee by distribution here is reflecting what we have on the pivot table. But then I want to achieve an outcome where all this data, all these charts will change based on the selection I make on my slicer. So that is now what gives it that interactive ability. So how do we achieve this function? Now, when I select any of the slicer, I will have an additional menu provided for me here, which is called slicer. So when I choose this, it gives me some other functionalities I can play around to modify my slicer how I want it to do what I want. Maybe I want to alter the color. Maybe I want to, do one or two functionalities, set columns. For example, you see this one, HND. Let me come back to this first one. It has currently one column. When I increase the number of columns, you see now how we have it 2 columns. And because I have 5 of it, maybe if I have 3 columns, will it make sense? Maybe 4, maybe 5, as the case may be. So these are some of the functionalities and how you can play around them. You can actually resize them using these notes by the sides and push them how you want them to be, depending on what you want. So let me make it to be 2, and I'll take it up here. So this gives me a good size for this guy. And for admin also, I would want to maybe make it, okay, it's because of the write-ups, they are too long. I'll leave it just 1. And for departments, and leave it this way. And then for grade level, I'll make it 3 columns, so it is easy this way for me. Okay, and lastly for employment type, let me just make 2 columns, whether permanent or contracts. Okay, so let's say I want to change the colors. So you have several of them here to choose from. So let me just choose randomly. I'm not really paying so much attention to the aesthetics part of it for sake of time. But if you're doing this professionally for your team, you will take your time to beautify it very well. So I will just choose random colors for you to see that you can actually select any color of your choice as you want. So I've chosen random colors. Now, interactivity here is what we now call connections. So I'm going to be doing connections. So you see here, when I click on this report connections, I will click these boxes in front of it so that it will connect to all the tables. So I'm doing this for one of the slicer. So I've been able to connect this slicer for education level to all the tables. Now this is what it does. I'll just show you an example of one of it. When I click on MSc, you notice that the figures here will change, and on my dashboard will change also. Look at attrition. People with MSc that left the organization is only in admin, 1 person, production, 1 person. So my data will change. When it comes to attrition reasons, only terminated and resigned, 50-50%. That means half of them, 1 of them was terminated, 1 of them resigned. When it comes to compensation, we will see that people with MSc, in terms of MSc, we pay our own monthly salary is higher than the market average in terms of senior positions, but in terms of mid and junior positions, our pay is less. So also it lets us to know that we have people with MSc in junior position levels. We don't know why. Maybe they are not serious about their career and all of those things. And then when it comes to time to hire, we realize that people with MSc, we have the highest time to hire in sales, about 27 days. It goes in that order. So this changes significantly when we change it to people with SSCE, for example. Let me come back to my dashboard. You will see the outlay has changed in terms of staff engagement. Only people in junior level are there and they score 7. In terms of attrition reasons, half of them left because they retired. So some people joined our organization with SSC till they retired, maybe people at messenger level and all of those. We have resigned 17%, and people who didn't give us a reason, about 33% of them. And we see also that we don't have anybody in our organization with SSCE in mid-level. All of them are in junior level or and we don't have any mid-level and all of that. So that shows our recruitment strategy is to hire people with at least an ND degree in mid-level positions upwards. So this is some of the ways that it works. So having mentioned that, I'm going to go quickly to do the connection for all the other slicers and then put them all together, and we can be able to see a fully functional interactive HR dashboard. So I've done for this and also for employment type and connecting it to all the tables. Okay. For grade, connect to all tables. Just double check, everything is fine. Okay, so my slicers are all connected to all the tables. So I'm going to take all of my slicers to my dashboard and position them properly. Okay. Where do I put them now? Okay, just on this side. I thought there were more than 3. Did I leave one? No. Okay, there you go. I'm trying to arrange it in such a way that it makes a little bit of sense. Or okay, I'll open this up also and down. So and you see this functionality here. When you check it, it allows you to do multiple selection. For example, let me see. You see here, I can only select junior. And if I'm selecting mid-level, it's changing completely. Okay. But then when I have this selected, I can actually select more than one option to see people at mid-level and senior level all together in one time at one time. So checking this option allows you to do multiple selection as against when it is not highlighted. So I'm going to just highlight for all of them so that we can be able to do multiple selection for all the slicers whenever we want to. And you can see here, whenever you make a selection, this filter button with a small red sign gets activated. This allows you to clear filter whenever you are done seeing what you want to see. So I'm going to cancel the filter and everything comes back together. So typically, I always would love for me to remove all these grid lines that you see here so that it looks a little bit presentable. So I'm going to uncheck grid lines and uncheck formula bar and check headers, and I will collapse the ribbon. And then I have something that looks like this. Let me increase the size a little. Okay. So I have something that looks like this. So let's say this is my HR dashboard for Aqua Pure Nigeria Limited. And then we want to, for example, see people who are permanent staff only. Now I just selected only permanent staff, and I'm looking at for my permanent staff, I have 35 of them who are male and 25 of them are female. I'm seeing in terms of the employee distribution by departments, this is their numbers. In terms of succession readiness, we have about 53% positions that we are ready to fill, and about 40 7% of the positions for permanent roles, we are not have been able to identify successors yet. Okay, so this shows us that something is fishy. So in terms of employment status, we have 100%, and what do you call? Then if I were to remove this, all of them selected, we have permanent and contract staff. Then when we come to departments, let's look at our HR departments. So in terms of HR, we have, okay, this head count by gender is not supposed to be 83 now because HR is not up to 83. Let me see this connections. Okay. 10. So now it's working. Good. Yes. So in terms of our HR, we have 22 of them male and 11 of them female, while about 45 roles we have identified successors, 55 we have not identified. About in terms of employment type, this is not so very visible, so maybe I will do a call out for this. Yeah. Okay. Home and color. Good. Okay. So I guess this makes it a bit more readable. Okay, so when we clear the filter and we look at people with BSc, you can actually select in multiples of these. The more you select, the more interactive it becomes. You know, your data gets drilled a bit more lower. So I've been able to activate people that have BSc in our organization that are in mid-level positions and are permanent staff members in HR departments. So this is what we have. Okay, so depends on what you are interested to see per time. The questions that you're being asked per time, you can tweak this to your own convenience to show you what you want to see, how you want to see it. So ladies and gentlemen, I will draw the curtain here in my demonstration. It's already 1 hour, 30 minutes since I began. So I'll allow you to ask questions and we can look at some of the other possibilities together. Thank you. Please, the floor is open here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for what you have done so much in so little time. We'll take just a few questions. When I say a few, I mean like 2 or 3, so that we can all go and rest. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, this will also be uploaded on the YouTube channel. Tochukwu, if you don't mind, I typically don't ask this. If you don't mind, on this group chat here,
Yes, sir.
chat here, attach the data sets there, please. So
Okay,
that
sure. I will put everything I've worked on so far.
Yes, everybody will join tonight, can download. Please download it don't come and chat me, private chat me later. Download it now. That's evidence that you're also on the call and you stayed till the rest. I think we have one question or comment from Michael Fakoride here. I don't know if that is an analysis question or a technical question, so to speak. Michael is saying, please explain how you define your successor readiness. Let me see, I think I saw another question. Michael is also saying, where is the place of voluntary and involuntary attrition by department?
Okay, thank you, Michael. Like I mentioned, you know, it's from Michael's question, it's already very clear that Michael is a data-savvy person, possibly at an intermediate or advanced level. So thank you. Those are critical questions to ask. Like I told you, the data I generated was from ChatGPT, so the reliability is not there. And we try to put everything together summarily, not necessarily the way it would be in an ideal situation. So what I focus on is to demonstrate how you can analyze your data. I am not telling you that this data is correct. Neither am I saying that this is how it should be in every organization. Depending on your data set and how your organization is structured, you may have those kind of voluntary resignation, and depending on what you want to see, you can be able to put it together. So from what we have in terms of succession readiness, we're only trying to talk about roles that we have a successor already identified based on the data that I have. Okay, so depending on your organization, you might have different kind of data, and that will determine, like I said at the beginning, how you will analyze it. Based on the data you have, will define how your analysis will go. But generally, I just try to demonstrate how you can do your analysis. So based on your data, please structure your analysis in that wise to give you what you are looking for. I hope that answers your question, sir.
Thank you so much. I'm checking to see if there is any other comment or if there's any hands here. Okay, I'm happy. I would like to read this comment. Omo Bolanle Benjamin said, thank you so much. I have learned how to make dashboard interactive. You know, sometimes if what you just learn is one or two new techniques, approach, or trick, fantastic. Oluchi said, this is a lot in 1 hour. This should be a full day trading. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what we'll do right now, I will unmute everyone so that we can appreciate our facilitator for tonight. Please, let's say thank you as we call it a wrap, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Really appreciate
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We've not downloaded it yet. Thank you,
I
sir.
dropped it though.
Yes, we
I
dropped
couldn't
it
even
already.
download it. I didn't see it too.